When you think about the real estate market, most people have this very specific, very polished image in their heads.
Yeah, the whole reality TV fantasy.
Right. It's the perfectly staged living rooms with the annoying throw
The
pillows.
smell of fresh-baked cookies at the open house.
Yes, and the bidding wars over these pristine move-in ready mansions. I mean, it is glamorous, it's shiny, and it's usually filtered through an Instagram lens.
And it is also a complete fabrication of what the actual machinery of the housing market looks like for a huge percentage of transactions.
Exactly, because underneath that glossy surface, there is a massive churning engine that keeps the whole system running. It's a grittier, much more complex world that the industry calls distressed properties.
Right.
We were talking about foreclosures, probate battles, short sales, and homes that are sold strictly as is. It is not pretty, but it is incredibly important. And today we are doing a deep dive into the profile of someone who lives and breathes that side of the market.
We are. Today we're looking at the professional footprint of Kent Harris. He is a licensed real estate agent and realtor based in Katy, Texas, serving the greater Houston area.
And we have a pretty serious stack of sources on him today to pull from. We're looking at his professional biography, his licensure details from the Texas Real Estate Commission, and his digital footprint, so transaction history from HA.com and LinkedIn.
Yeah, but our mission today isn't just to, read a resume.
No, definitely not. And we're using Kent Harris as a case study to understand the mechanics of the problem property market.
We want to unpack what it actually means to specialize in distress. Like, why does a seller in financial ruin or a family dealing with a deceased estate choose a specialist like Harris over, say, just your average generalist agent?
Right. And what does his career tell us about the health of the housing market in a major metro area like Houston?
Exactly.
So let's start with the basics of the profile. Who is this guy?
Well, structurally, the sources show he's affiliated with Realm Real Estate Professionals in Katy. You will sometimes see this listed as Realm Properties LLC Corporate.
Okay.
His physical base of operations is right there on Cinco Village Center Boulevard in Katy, Texas.
Now, for those of you outside of Texas, Realm is an interesting brokerage model, isn't it? It is not your typical boutique agency.
No, it's really not. Realm is known for hosting a lot of high-volume independent agents. It's often a model that attracts agents who know how to run their own business, manage their own P&L, and they don't really need a sales manager breathing down their neck.
It suggests an operator who's self-sufficient.
Yeah, very self-sufficient.
And that tracks with the experience timeline mentioned in our sources. We're looking at someone with over a decade of experience in the real estate market.
I actually want to pause on that 10 years figure for a second because it is so easy to gloss over.
Yeah.
In a normal corporate job, 10 years is what, mid-level management?
Yeah, pretty much.
But in real estate, the attrition rate is famously brutal.
I've heard the stats are pretty high.
They are astronomical. It's something like 87% of real estate agents fail and leave the industry within their first 5 years.
Wow.
It is a commission-only, eat-what-you-kill environment. So when you see a license, specifically his Texas license number 690605, that has been active for over a decade, it signals survival.
It means he's seen a cycle.
Exactly. He was likely working when rates were historically low, and he is still working now that the market has shifted. When you're dealing with standard, pretty homes, maybe that historical context matters a little less.
Sure.
But Kent Harris specializes in distressed properties. To navigate foreclosures or short sales, you need to have seen what happens when the economy gets rocky. You need to know where the bodies are buried, metaphorically speaking.
Well, hopefully only metaphorically. But speaking of credentials, I saw something in the HAR.com notes. A platinum real estate agent designation. Is that just a participation trophy? Do you get that just for paying your dues on time?
No, not at all. And this is actually important for understanding the Houston market. HAR, which is the Houston Association of Realtors, is arguably the most powerful and data-rich local MLS in the entire country.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they run a very tight ship. So a platinum designation usually signals high engagement with the platform, highly accurate data entry, and a consistent transaction volume.
So he isn't a ghost agent.
Right. He isn't someone who just holds a license to sell one house a year to his cousin. This is an active operator, and that activity is crucial because of what he is operating on. This is where the profile really shifts from standard agent to something much more specific.
The niche. The sources explicitly list his focus areas as foreclosures, probate homes, short sales, and homes sold as is.
This is the distressed property niche, and frankly, this is where the real work happens.
Let's break these down because I think people hear these terms and have a vague idea, but the reality is much messier. Let's start with probate.
Right.
To the average listener, probate just means selling a house after someone dies. But why is that a specialty? Why can't any agent just stick a sign in the yard?
Because the client isn't a normal homeowner. The client is an estate. You are dealing with an executor who has a strict fiduciary duty to maximize the value for the heirs. And often you have multiple heirs who are actively fighting over the money.
So it's part real estate, part family therapy, and part legal battle.
Precisely. In Texas, depending on how the will was written or if there was no will, which happens all the time, you might need court approval to even sell the property.
Right.
To have these strictly regulated timelines, a generalist agent might accidentally promise a closing date to a buyer that the probate judge hasn't approved yet.
Which would blow up the whole deal.
Instantly. And it opens the estate up to lawsuits. So a specialist like Harris implies he knows the judges, he knows the probate timelines, and he knows how to manage the family's expectations so the deal actually crosses the finish line.
So when the bio says he manages the transaction from scouting to closing, in the probate context,
Right.
that involves a mountain of red tape.
It really does. It's not just staging the living room, it's chasing down affidavits of heirship.
Okay, let's move to the next two terms, foreclosures and short sales. Can we distinguish those for the audience? Because they are often used interchangeably, but they're very different animals, right?
Very different. A foreclosure usually means the bank has already taken the property back. It is an REO, which stands for real estate owned. The seller is a bank. They are cold, they're bureaucratic, and they do not care if you love the kitchen backsplash. They just want the asset off their books.
And a short sale.
A short sale is pre-foreclosure. The homeowner still owns it, but they owe the bank more money than the house is currently worth.
Right, so they are short.
Exactly, they are short. So the agent in this case, someone like Kent Harris, has to literally convince the bank to accept less money than they are owed to avoid the hassle of a full foreclosure.
That sounds like an absolute negotiation nightmare. You're asking a bank to voluntarily lose money.
It is absolute torture for the uninitiated. You are dealing with loss mitigation departments. You have to prove financial hardship. These deals can take 6 to 9 months just to close.
Wow.
A standard agent often runs screaming from short sales because they're so labor-intensive and they often fall apart the very last second. If Harris lists this as a specialty, it implies he has the patience and the specific negotiation playbook to deal with these institutional roadblocks.
And then we have the catch-all term that appears in his profile, as is.
The two most expensive words in real estate.
Right. As is. What does that signal to the market, specifically in a place like Katy, Texas?
It signals I am not fixing anything. In Texas, we have very specific structural issues. Foundation problems due to the shifting clay soil are huge. Roof damage from hailstorms is huge.
Oh yeah, the weather down there.
Exactly. When a property is listed as is, the seller is essentially putting up a giant flag saying, I know the foundation might be cracked. I know the AC is from 1995. I am not negotiating repairs.
This connects perfectly to the client section of our deep dive. The sources mention he's connected to services like Katy, Texas home buyers.
Right.
And the bio says this service targets sellers who need fast sales without doing repairs.
All right.
So let's profile the seller here. It is not the person trying to get top dollar for their pristine renovation, is it?
No, the seller avatar here is someone in distress. We call them motivated sellers, which is a very polite industry term for someone who is in trouble.
Right.
Maybe they lost a job. Maybe they inherited a house they can't afford the taxes on. Maybe they're going through a nasty divorce. They are trading equity for speed and certainty.
That is a key insight right there. They are paying for the certainty of the exit.
Exactly. They know they could probably get $20,000 more if they fixed the roof and painted the walls and staged it, but they don't have the cash to fix the roof, and they don't have the time to paint the walls. They need out now. Harris basically acts as the pressure release valve for these situations.
So on one side of the equation, he has these distressed sellers. But a market needs two sides. Who is buying these cracked foundation, probate-tangled homes?
Investors. The bio explicitly mentions he assists buyers and investors looking for homes in any condition.
Any condition. That takes a brave buyer.
Takes a calculated buyer. This is where the value opportunity language comes in. Investors work on a formula, usually something like the 70% rule.
Which is what?
They want to buy a house for 70% of its after repair value, minus the cost of the actual repairs.
So they need an agent who understands that math.
Precisely. If I am an investor, I can't use an agent who gets emotional about the ugly carpet or the smell of cat pee in the living room. I need an agent who walks in and says, okay, this needs 40K in work. The comp down the street sold for 250K, so we need to offer 130K.
It's a purely distinct mathematical transaction.
And that is exactly why the distressed property expert title matters. He is the bridge. He speaks the language of the desperate seller saying, I can get you out of this mess. And he speaks the language of the shark investor saying, I found you a spread with 20% ROI.
Let's talk about the geography of where this is all happening. Katy, Texas.
A massive submarket of Houston.
The sources emphasize his focus on the greater Houston area, specifically Katy, and we have some transaction data here. The sources show recent activity in the single-family home market ranging from $126,000 to over $200,000.
Which, in the current national landscape, sounds incredibly low to a lot of listeners.
It really does.
Yeah.
But let's contextualize that. What does $126,000 to $185,000 represent in a place like Katy right now?
It represents the bones. In a desirable school district in Katy, you generally aren't finding a move and ready, updated family home for $126,000 anymore. Not unless it is very small or very old.
So that price point basically confirms the distressed narrative.
100%. That price range is the fixer-upper sweet spot. It is too expensive to be a full teardown, but too cheap to be retail ready. These are the homes that need $30,000 to $50,000 in renovation just to get back to market value.
And the sources mentioned he represented sellers in the $185,000 to $215,000 range as well.
That is the bread and butter inventory. That might be the rental portfolio homes. A lot of investors aren't flipping, they are holding. They buy at 190, put a tenant in, and ride the appreciation.
I see.
Harris, sitting in that specific price pocket, tells me he is actively feeding the investor ecosystem.
It is interesting because we often celebrate the luxury agents selling the $10 million mansions. We see them all over TV. But in terms of economic impact, isn't this layer of the market, the recycling of the 150K to 200K homes, a lot more critical?
I would argue yes, absolutely. This is the digestive system of the housing market.
That is a very visceral image.
It is, but think about it. If no one handles the probate homes, they sit empty and rot. If no one handles the foreclosures, they become blighted.
And that hurts everyone.
Right. They pull down the property values of the entire neighborhood. By facilitating these sales, agents like Harris are taking dead inventory and getting it back into circulation so a new family can eventually live there. It is ugly work, but it keeps the neighborhood values stable.
I want to pivot to how he actually finds these people, or rather, how they find him. We looked at his digital footprint.
Which is surprisingly quiet.
Quiet is definitely one word for it. We have the standard presence, Realtor.com, Homes.com, HAR.com. But then we looked at his social media. His X, formerly Twitter, handle is @Clark77449. The notes describe it as having a low follower count with a mix of personal and professional use.
Right.
In an era where every single realtor seems to be trying to be a micro-influencer with drone shots and TikTok dances, this seems counterintuitive. Is he bad at marketing, or is this a deliberate strategy?
I don't think he's bad at marketing at all. I think he is targeting a completely different audience.
How so?
Think about the client again. If you are an investor buying 5 houses a year, are you scrolling TikTok to find your agent?
No.
You are looking at the MLS data. You are looking for who actually has the listings. You are looking at the numbers.
You want the guy who answers the phone.
Exactly. And if you are a seller facing foreclosure, you aren't looking for a lifestyle brand. You are often embarrassed, you're stressed, and you're looking for a discreet solution. You find these agents through direct mail, through attorney referrals, or through those We Buy Houses networks. You aren't sliding into their DMs because they posted a cool video.
So the lack of a flashy Instagram is almost a feature, not a bug.
In the distressed niche, yes, absolutely. It suggests he is focused on industry visibility rather than consumer visibility. His credibility comes from his HAR Platinum status, which the investors can see, not his follower count.
That makes a lot of sense. He is operating in the B2B or business-to-business lane, essentially, connecting sellers to investors rather than B2C, business to consumer.
Correct. And look at the contact methods provided in the source. Primary contact is his cell phone, 832-578-1967. Secondary is the brokerage, 281-598-5800.
Why does that order matter?
Speed. We talked about the as-is market being all about certainty and speed. If a deal pops up, say, a bank approves a short sale price, that approval might only be good for 48 hours. If you are an investor and you call the number and get routed to a corporate receptionist or a team coordinator, the deal dies.
You need the guy who is actually holding the file.
You need the decision maker. In high-stakes, low-margin transactions, accessibility is the highest form of customer service. The fact that his bio leads with a direct cell number is a massive signal to investors. It says, I am reachable and I am ready to close.
We should mention, for anyone actually looking to hire him, or any agent really, the sources do note the real estate details change.
Always. Brokerage affiliations change, license statuses change. They should always be verified. The best place for you to get the real-time truth is always the state board, so the Texas Real Estate Commission or the local board, har.com. Never rely on a third-party bio from 2 years ago.
Good housekeeping note there, so let's zoom out a bit. We have painted a picture of Kent Harris, experienced, Katy-based, focused on the unglamorous but totally vital world of distressed property.
He's the mechanic of the market, not the showroom salesman.
For you listening, what is the actionable takeaway here? Because most of our listeners might not be in Katy, Texas.
The takeaway is about agent problem fit.
Elaborate on that.
We tend to view real estate agents as a commodity. Like, oh, my aunt has a license, let's just use her. But real estate is highly specialized. If you are buying a $2 million luxury home, yes, you need a marketing genius who knows how to throw a great party. But if you are navigating a legal minefield like probate, or if you are an investor looking for ROI, a luxury agent will fail you.
They just won't have the toolkit.
They won't know the judges. They won't know the construction costs. They won't know how to talk to the bank's loss mitigation department. The lesson is, define your problem first. Is your problem marketing? Or is your problem distress? Then hire the specialist for that specific problem. Kent Harris is the architect of the distress specialist.
I think that is a crucial distinction. Don't hire a heart surgeon to fix your knee, and don't hire a luxury agent to sell a foreclosure.
Exactly. Find the right tool for the job.
I want to leave everyone with a final thought, something to chew on regarding the broader economy. We touched on this idea of the distress market being an engine.
Yes.
We are constantly looking at the stock market or the Federal Reserve for signs of where the economy is going. But I wonder, are agents like Kent Harris actually the true bellwethers?
In what sense?
Well, they see the trouble first. Before the foreclosure statistics ever hit the evening news, the phone of a distressed property expert starts ringing. They see the probate filings spike. They see the investors either pull back or dive in.
That is a profound point. They really are the canary in the coal mine.
Right. If you want to know the real health of the American housing market, maybe stop watching the news and start looking at the activity levels of the agents who clean up the mess. If they are busy, the storm is already here.
That is a very sobering thought, but probably accurate.
On that cheerful note, that's all the time we have for this deep dive into the profile of Kent Harris and the mechanics of the distressed property market. We hope this pulled back the curtain on how those as-is deals actually get done.
Thanks for listening.
Catch you on the next deep dive.